Chapter 121, 110. See God Revival _2. If there really are superhumans in the world, I wonder if their talents can compare with mine. Linziken felt a bit curious about this. However, he didn't delve too deep into it and quickly grabbed the food he had prepared in advance, eating it voraciously to replenish the chi blood he had spent during his tempering flesh. Once his chi blood had almost recovered, he found a grip strengthener made of special elastic alloy and set it to the highest strength. Then, he squeezed it hard with his right hand to feel the current grip strength of his arm. After testing it out, the grip strength of his right hand had obviously increased a lot. At least by 50%. And that was just the increase in strength. Besides strength, there were definitely the same levels of enhancement in defense, endurance, and recovery among other aspects. If the effect of just one body refining was this exaggerated, 5 times of tempering would surely multiply the strength by several times. No, it could even be more than 10 times. Now, only the muscles of the arm had been tempered once, and it had led to a 50% increase in the right hand's grip strength. If the muscles of the entire body were refined, enhancing all the muscles, then the increase in right hand grip strength would definitely be more than 50%. After all, grip strength is influenced not only by the muscles in the arms but also by other parts of the body like the chest muscles. With this thought, Linziken was invigorated and filled with the motivation to temper his flesh. In the evening, after dinner, Linziken sat down for a while to digest, feeling that his chi blood was very abundant. He didn't stay downstairs long and stood up to go back to his room to continue tempering flesh, aiming to refine all the muscles in his body within half a month. Nearly a whole night passed. He had finished tempering all the muscles in his entire left arm. Feeling the strength in both arms, Linziken thought he could give himself a nickname Iron Arm. Xiao Chen, I'm here to see you. Hurry up and open the door. Coming. Hearing Shen Qinghan's voice, Linziken responded and went to open the door. As the door opened, Shen Qinghan handed him the shoebox she was holding, saying, "These are the running shoes I bought while shopping with Chu Xin today. See if they fit." "I'll try them." Linziken opened the shoebox, which contained a pair of light grey running shoes. Upon trying them on, they were a perfect fit and very comfortable. "These are couple shoes, you know. I have a light pink pair at home. Later on when we go out for runs to train, let's wear these," said Shen Qinghan, having taken off her slippers and sitting on the bed, her voice sweet and crisp. Linziken found the shoes very comfortable and thought they must not be cheap. He asked, "How much did these cost?" "Together, both pairs just hit 1,000 yuan. That's pretty expensive. But they're worth it for the comfort, plus they're durable. If you buy cheap ones, the soles wear out after just a few runs." "That's true." Talking like this for over an hour, the two of them ended up lying on the bed. Shen Qinghan, while chatting, blushed slightly, looking a bit embarrassed, and said, "That the second dimension study videos on your phone, I didn't finish watching them last time. I want to continue." "Addicted to them, hey?" Linziken couldn't help teasing her. "I never imagined you were such a lecherous girl." "No way. I'm not addicted at all. I'm just curious," retorted Shen Qinghan with a pout. "It's you, always downloading and saving them, you're the real lecher, and you have the nerve to talk about me." "Man's nature, I'm naturally lecherous," Linziken admitted unashamedly with thick skin. Shen Qinghan didn't know how to handle him and thought indeed there was nothing like the shameless. "You always make fun of me, so as punishment, you're not getting any kisses tonight." Shen Qinghan puffed up her cheeks, pretending to be angry, and turned away from Linziken with a bit of coquettishness. Linziken ignored her punishment, directly turned her around with his hand, embraced her, and kissed her on the mouth. Shen Qinghan put up a symbolic struggle, but soon she succumbed and began to respond to Linziken's kisses. The next morning, after eating breakfast made by Zhang Wangzhen, the two left for the hospital to meet up with Lee Chuksan. They went through the formalities in no time, and Lee Chuksan then proceeded with egg retrieval. It was a very simple minimally invasive surgery, completed in just over 10 minutes. How does it feel? Seeing Lee Chuksan come out of the operating room, Shen Qinghan immediately asked. Lee Chuksan replied, I didn't feel much, just lay there and played with my phone and it was over. The only scary part was the needle they use for egg retrieval, it's a bit terrifying. While speaking, she gestured with her hands in front of Shen Qinghan, saying, it was this long, this thick, and they just pierced it right through to my lower abdomen. If it weren't for the anesthetic, it would definitely be unbearably painful. Don't scare me, Chu Xin. Shen Qinghan regretted asking Lee Chuksan how she felt. Originally not afraid of the egg retrieval surgery, but after hearing about the needle from Lee Chuksan, she couldn't help but feel a little scared. Next, please come in. A female doctor's voice came from the operating room. Hearing the call, Shen Qinghan quickly walked in. Then, about 10 minutes later, she walked out of the operating room. There was no apparent discomfort in her body, not at all like she had been pierced with a needle. The biological technology and medical techniques of this world were quite advanced, and many minimally invasive surgeries were virtually injury-free, with very mild post-operative anesthesia effects. By the way, we've been on summer vacation for so long and our group of 4 hasn't gone out to play together yet. Should we pick a day to go out together? Lee Chuksan suggested, looking at the two. Shen Qinghan was the first to agree, good idea, the 4 of us should go out and have fun. Chapter 122, 110. See God Revival _3. Lin Zikin remained silent. Because if Shen Qinghan was going, it meant that he would definitely go too. The two were bound together. Lee Chuksan smiled and said, well, let's tentatively agree on this for now. When we go back, we'll discuss it in our group chat and see where might be the most fun to go. The 3 chatted for a bit in the hospital. Soon, they each took their own cars and went their separate ways home. Once back at home, Lin Zikin spent the entire day tempering his muscles. He was tempering the muscles in his legs. The muscles in the legs were much more numerous than those in the arms. After almost a day of tempering, he had only completed 1 whole right leg. The remaining left leg would take another day to finish tempering. At 11 p.m., Shen Qinghan arrived on time wearing pajamas, looking for Lin Zikin to sleep. Ever since they decided they would marry after graduation, the two basically often slept together. Mainly because Shen Qinghan was clingy and liked to sleep with Lin Zikin. Out of 10 days, she'd at least want to share a bed with him for 3, otherwise, she'd feel restless. Xiao Chen, quickly check the group chat. Chu Xin and he you are already discussing where to go for fun. Shen Qinghan said as soon as she sat down on the bed. Lin Zikin opened the group chat and saw that there were already 99 plus messages. Looking through the chat history, some suggested going for a hike to watch the sunset, others proposed horseback riding, visiting water parks, or even going to the beach. There were many suggestions, but because Lee Chuksan and He Yu disagreed, no decision had yet been made on where to go. Both of them messaged Shen Qinghan in the chat, asking her where she would like to go. Shen Qinghan didn't have a preference and thought anywhere would be fun, so she replied that they could decide. As for Lin Zikin, neither of them asked him. After being classmates for 3 years, they both knew it was futile to ask, aware the answer would definitely be I'll do whatever Han Han wants. About half an hour of arguing passed. Lee Chuksan and He Yu finally compromised and decided they would go to the beach. As soon as Shen Qinghan saw that the decision was to go to the beach, she felt troubled. She couldn't go into the sea. As soon as she entered the water, she would start hearing creepy sounds from the ocean depths and feel very unsettled. Xiao Chen, what should I do? Shen Qinghan felt somewhat at a loss and turned to Lin Zikin for help. Lee Chuksan and He Yu had asked for her opinion, and she had said anything was fine, leaving the decision to them. Now, after they had argued for nearly half an hour, they finally agreed on a satisfactory outcome to go to the beach. If she said she couldn't go, it would seem very uncooperative. Just say you have an injury and can't touch seawater, so going to the beach is out of the question. Lin Zikin suggested after some thought. Shen Qinghan hesitated for a moment, but eventually shook her head. Never mind, they finally reached a compromise after so much effort. It would be inappropriate for me to reject it now. Let's just go to the beach then. Worst comes to worst, I just won't go into the sea, I can sunbathe and have a barbecue on the beach. All right, it's decided. After making up her mind, Shen Qinghan replied in the group chat, expressing her agreement to go to the beach. Seeing this, Lin Zikin simply went with what she liked. He also thought that as long as she didn't go into the sea, there shouldn't be a problem. Having settled on the beach, the four of them discussed and agreed to depart at 7 a.m. in 10 days, to a place in the city known as Shuangru Bay. In the days leading up to the beach trip, Lin Zikin hardly left his house. Apart from regular training outings with Shen Qinghan, he spent the rest of the time secluding himself in his room to temper his muscles. He tempered them for 9 days straight. Fortune favors the diligent, and he finally tempered all his muscles. The moment he completed the muscle tempering, a prompt appeared in the void. Your biological level has been raised to ordinary 8th rank. To think he had reached ordinary 8th rank, Lin Zikin felt it was somewhat surreal. Before practicing the blood tempering technique, on average, it took about 3 to 4 years to advance a single biological level. After practicing the blood tempering technique, not even half the summer had passed, and he had raised his biological level from ordinary 6th rank to ordinary 8th rank at an astounding speed. Last time, after tempering the skin, my biological level evolved to ordinary 7th rank. This time, after tempering the flesh, it evolved to ordinary 8th rank. So, when I temper the bones next time, it will definitely evolve to ordinary 9th rank. Ordinary 9th rank, and above that are the lofty advanced level creatures. It seems that joining Tianren Pavilion was an absolutely correct decision. The blood tempering technique perfectly matches my physical talent and can significantly speed up my evolution. Lin Zikin muttered to himself, feeling exhilarated. The next day, at 7 o'clock in the morning, the 4 members of the Breaking Dawn group gathered at the gate of Shanghai High School to set off for the beach. The mode of transport was by car, with He Yu as the driver. He Yu, when did you get your driver's license? On the car, Li Chuxin, sitting in the passenger seat, asked curiously. The summer vacation had only been about a month, and he already had a driver's license, which seemed incredible. With a nonchalant one-handed turn of the steering wheel, He Yu answered, I got it nearly 3 weeks ago. I got my license just 10 days into the vacation. You were practicing driving during winter break. As soon as she finished speaking, Li Chuxin negated her own question, no, that can't be right. You had your 18th birthday during the next semester. You were still a minor during winter break. How did this happen? I signed up for an express class. It only took 10 days to get a license. There's an express class like that. Li Chuxin looked puzzled. I've lived in Shanghai City for so many years, how come I've never heard of it? He Yu boasted, my dad pulled some strings to find it for me. Of course, you wouldn't have heard of it. Chapter 123, 110. See God Revival _4. After speaking, he added, if you 3 want to enroll in the crash course, I'll just mention it to my dad when I get back, and it will be done. Do you want to sign up? He Yu, of course we do. Li Chuxin, now feeling indebted after accepting favors, promptly switched to calling him He Yu, aiming for a flexible and variable approach. Lin Zikin, who was sitting in the back seat, also chimed in, He Yu, please enroll Han Han and me as well. Hearing this title of He Yu made He Yu feel quite pleased inside. An hour and a bit later, the car arrived at the destination, Shuangru Bay. It was the height of summer, and the beach was crowded with people. As soon as they got out of the car, He Yu's eyes were immediately drawn to the bikini-clad women in the crowd. His gaze was unabashed and full of desire. In contrast, Lin Zikan appeared much more reserved. Unless there was a swimsuit beauty of Shen Qinghan's caliber, he couldn't be bothered to give even a glance. He was simply uninterested. He Yu, can you not be so sleazy? Look at Zi Chen, such a gentleman, not a single lustful gaze in his eyes. Li Chuxin said to He Yu with some dissatisfaction. He Yu disagreed. What a joke, Zi Chen's just been spoiled by King Han, how could he not be lustful? So all men are lustful, is that it? He Yu continued, besides, if you come to the beach and don't look at the bikini beauties, what's the point of coming to the beach? Li Chuxin had no retort. She chose to take Shen Qinghan's hand and leave, saying to her, let's go, Han Han, let's go over there and change into our swimsuits, ignore him. Lin Zikan looked at He Yu and said, let's go change too. Let's go, I can't wait to go diving. After saying that, He Yu excitedly headed towards the changing room with Lin Zikan. On their way to the changing rooms, Lin Zikan was recognized by many as the second top scholar from Nanjiang province's JAKO exams. These people all pointed at him and murmured among themselves, saying he had joined Tianren Pavilion, that his ideas had gone awry, and he had been brainwashed. Lin Zikan, having acute senses, heard every one of these negative comments as if they were said directly to his ears. He was unbothered by the criticisms, but he quietly took note of the hidden hand behind his current predicament. Once he became powerful, he would surely settle the score with the culprit. For mental anguish alone, he would demand compensation in tens if not hundreds of millions. Who do you think you are, daring to judge the second top scholar from Nanjiang province's JAKO exams? He Yu, who was traveling with him, overheard someone bad-mouthing Lin Zikan and immediately confronted them angrily. The individuals he confronted all shrunk back like turtles in their shells, none daring to retaliate. While they were bold enough to laugh about Nanjiang province's second top scholar behind his back, it did not mean they dared to offend him. Nanjiang province's second top scholar, even if he was to follow the path of a pure-blood human and become commonplace, was not someone these average Joes could afford to offend. Not to mention, this top scholar could switch majors at any time and return to the genetic fusion path. Zi Chen, you really are patient. If it were me being talked about, I would have probably punched them already. He Yu said with an indignant expression. Lin Zikan laughed and replied, patience is relative, I just don't care about these things. If they touched on something I do care about, I would certainly react. He Yu asked curiously, then what do you care about? No sooner had the words left his mouth, than Li Chuxin, already changed into her swimsuit, came over and smilingly answered for Lin Zikan, do you even need to ask? What Zi Chen cares about most is definitely Han Han. Yeah, that was a bit of a stupid question on my part. He Yu said with an embarrassed smile. While laughing, his gaze landed on Li Chuxin. Li Chuxin was wearing a revealing bikini, her waist slender and pale, which looked very tempting. Next to her, Shen Qinghan looked much more conservative. She wore a close-fitting beach dress that only revealed a pair of slender and white legs, and a pair of small and delicate feet. Beyond that, there was nothing to see. Soon, Lin Zikan and He Yu headed inside the changing room to switch into their beach shorts. When the two of them came out wearing beach shorts, Li Chuxin and Shen Qinghan had already found a good spot on the beach, where they set up a mat and a sunshade. Seeing the sun a bit too fierce, Lin Zikan went over to Shen Qinghan, took out a bottle of sunscreen from his bag, and offered to apply it for her. Shen Qinghan blushed slightly but saw no reason to decline, so she agreed. Chu Xin, I'll help you with the sunscreen. Eager for the touch of an 18-year-old girl's tender skin, He Yu volunteered himself to Li Chuxin. Li Chuxin gave him a glare, ha, you wish you could take advantage of me. I'll have Han Han help me later, you lascivious beast, stay away from me. He Yu felt regretful. Meanwhile, Lin Zikan had Shen Qinghan lie on the mat to apply the sunscreen on her. Shen Qinghan was dressed conservatively, only exposing her face, neck, arms, calves, and feet. Technically, those were the only areas that needed sunscreen. Even the feet really didn't require it. However, when Lin Zikan was applying the sunscreen on Shen Qinghan, he didn't skip any area. Even with the dress obstructing, he reached inside to apply it, moving higher and higher up. Was this applying sunscreen? Or taking advantage? Shen Qinghan knew exactly what was happening, but she allowed Lin Zikan to take his liberties. Because she was also enjoying the intimate physical contact, indulging in the blurred lines with Lin Zikan, and somewhat addicted to it. As she silently relished the touch of Lin Zikan's hands, squeezing her slender legs tightly and her cheeks flushed with pleasure, a strange, ancient, and weathered whisper suddenly rang by her ear. Great God! Revive! Sea's origin land! Hearing this eerie whisper, Shen Qinghan suddenly opened her eyes wide, filled with panic. This strange whisper was coming from the sea. P.S. Begging bowl out, need monthly tickets, recommendation tickets. Chapter 124, 111, Contaminated Shen Qinghan. What's wrong? Noticing Shen Qinghan's abnormality, Lin Zikan immediately expressed concern. Shen Qinghan sat up from the mat, her expression frantic as she leaned in close to his ear and whispered, Xiao Chen, I heard that voice again. That voice? Could it be the voice from the sea? Thinking of this, Lin Zikan couldn't help but turn slightly pale. He quickly found an excuse to leave and took Shen Qinghan to a secluded corner, then asked with a furrowed brow, Is it that voice from the sea? Yes, it's the voice from the sea. Shen Qinghan tried her best to calm her nerves and continued, This time I heard the content of the voice clearly, though it was very fragmented. I only caught some clear words, mentioning a great god, revival, the origin land, and the like. The voice was just as unsettling as before, making my heart flutter in panic. Lin Zikan asked, Can you still hear the voice now? No, not anymore. Shen Qinghan shook her head, feeling a bit frightened in retrospect. The moment the voice sounded, her heartbeat had accelerated sharply, and a sudden surge of inexplicable fear overwhelmed her, giving her a slight feeling of chest tightness. Now that the voice had disappeared, her mind finally began to settle down. After hearing Shen Qinghan's words, Lin Zikan fell into deep thought. A great god, revival, the origin land? Her mysterious physique, could it have something to do with the origin land? After pondering for a while, Lin Zikan said to Shen Qinghan, Our knowledge is too limited, knowing this information we can't uncover much, but after we understand more about the origin land in the future, let's see what it's all about. Or maybe after you start university. When you're more familiar with that cheap master of yours, you could try to probe her about the origin land, to see if she knows anything about the sea's origin land. Also, as long as it doesn't compromise our safety, we could come to the seaside more often in the future to see if we can unearth more information. Before, when Shen Qinghan couldn't understand the voice from the sea, Lin Zikan couldn't be sure of the situation and didn't dare take Shen Qinghan near the sea. But now that Shen Qinghan could understand the voice, and it seemed to bear no malice, just a murmur, he felt that in the future, it would be suitable to bring Shen Qinghan here to dig for secrets. As long as they didn't enter the water, just standing on the shore might allow them to hear the murmur and thus dig up more useful information, unveiling the secrets of Shen Qinghan's special physique. The two exchanged thoughts in the corner and soon returned to He Yu and Li Chuxin. After sunbathing, everyone gathered together for a barbecue lunch. Lin Zikan and Shen Qinghan weren't in the mood for barbecue, their minds occupied with the voice from the sea. Thinking of staying at the seaside to see if they could hear the voice again. However, they waited until nightfall, when it was time to leave the seaside and head home, but Shen Qinghan hadn't heard the murmur from the sea again. At night, inside the room, Lin Zikin and Shen Qinghan played with their phones while chatting about the voice they heard at the seaside during the day. Having discussed for a while without reaching any conclusions, they soon stopped. They went about their own business, like an old married couple, in the room. Lin Zikin put down his phone, got out of bed, and sat at the desk to flip through blood tempering technique, studying the step of bone tempering seriously. Shen Qinghan lay on the bed, using Lin Zikin's phone to watch second-dimensional educational videos, her cute face blushing at the occasional cheer coming from the earphones. At this moment, both were earnestly studying the knowledge they craved, though the topics of their studies differed. Approaching 10 o'clock at night, Lin Zikin successfully grasped the technique of bone tempering and without wasting a moment, began his first session of bone tempering. The bones of an adult are divided into 3 main parts. They are 29 cranial bones, 51 torso bones, and 126 limb bones. The head is the most crucial part, as well as the most fragile. Therefore, Lin Zikin prioritized the cranial bones, to enhance the defense of his head. You are using qi blood to temper your bones, bone strength +1, proficiency in blood tempering technique +1. Bone tempering is much harder than tempering skin or tempering flesh. The process is incredibly painful. First, one must control the qi blood to penetrate the bones, then maintain the qi blood flowing back and forth inside, creating intense pain that is hardly bearable. After less than half an hour of tempering, Lin Zikin was sweating cold beads and turned pale from pain. It felt as if his skull were being pierced with steel needles, sending jolts of sharp pain intermittently. And for enduring such agony, he had only tempered the smallest of the cranial bones, with 28 more to go. Bone tempering really is tormenting. Lin Zikin muttered to himself and then, braving the pain, continued to temper the rest of his cranial bones. Setting a small goal for himself, he aimed to complete the tempering of all 29 cranial bones within 5 days, achieving an indestructible head, so he would no longer need to wear a helmet when going out fishing. Closing in on midnight, Lin Zikin had painstakingly tempered 3 cranial bones. By this time, his clothes were soaked with sweat, and his breathing became a bit chaotic, unable to continue the tempering. He had to stop and rest, or his head would hurt to the point of losing consciousness. "Xiao Chen, why are you sweating so much?" Having just finished watching an educational video, Shen Qinghan noticed Lin Zikin drenched in sweat and felt very puzzled. Catching his breath, Lin Zikin explained, "I was just using qi blood for bone tempering. The pain was quite outrageous, and it made me sweat profusely." "Is it that exaggerated?" Shen Qinghan was somewhat surprised. Regaining her senses, she quickly got out of bed, took a few tissues to Lin Zikin, and tenderly wiped the sweat from his face. Chapter 125, The Contaminated Shen Qinghan _2. Seeing Lin Zikin with sweat all over his head, she couldn't help but think of the scene from the learning video she had just watched, where the male lead was also hot and sweaty after battling with the female lead. As soon as she thought of this scene, more battle images began to emerge in her mind, unstoppable. While contemplating, Shen Qinghan felt her body heat up, and her cheeks turned a hot red. "Why is your face so red?" Lin Zikin noticed Shen Qinghan's unusual demeanor and couldn't help but ask, puzzled. With flushed cheeks, Shen Qinghan said, "The male lead in the video just now was sweating profusely, just like you are." Lin Zikin was somewhat at a loss for words, then said, "You should watch less of that in the future. Look, your thoughts are no longer pure. You'll turn into Shen Wuhang sooner or later. I'm already 18, I can be dirty. Just because you're 18 doesn't mean you have to be dirty. Why not stay pure? No way, if you don't understand anything by the time you're 18, that's not called being pure, that's called being stupid." After saying that, Shen Qinghan hesitated for a moment, then with her cheeks redder and hotter, she asked, "Xiao Chen, do you think doing that kind of thing is really as comfortable as it looks in the video?" She was very curious about it and wanted to try it with Lin Zikin, but didn't know how to bring it up, so she initiated this conversation instead. Probably. Lin Zikin replied somewhat noncommittally. He didn't want to continue the topic, feeling that it was easy for things to get out of hand with just a man and a woman alone together. However, Shen Qinghan's thoughts were the exact opposite. Seeing that he was evading the subject, she mustered up the courage and directly said, "Xiao Chen, I want to try it with you." Such a statement was rather shocking, leaving Lin Zikin utterly silent. He hadn't expected Shen Qinghan to be so forward. After a moment of silence, he said, "It's a bit too soon, let's talk about it after school starts." It had only been a few days since their first kiss, and he wanted to savor the gradual progression of their relationship, not rush to the summit. At least 2 more months should pass before they resumed that topic. The glory of reaching the summit was indeed beautiful, but the scenery along the ascent was uniquely charming as well, and he didn't want to miss out on that. Seeing Lin Zikin's refusal, Shen Qinghan felt somewhat disappointed. Pursing her rosy lips, she said, "Xiao Chen, after training, you always help me massage and relax my muscles to make me comfortable. I want to make you comfortable, too." "Oh, you want to give me a massage?" Lin Zikin laughed and said, "But your strength is so limited, I'm afraid you might not be able to handle my body." Instead of engaging in their usual banter, Shen Qinghan replied with a shy voice, "Close your eyes and don't open them, stay seated and don't move, I definitely won't disappoint you." "A massage that requires you to close your eyes, stay seated, and not move?" Lin Zikin was a bit baffled, but he didn't dwell on it and chose to obediently close his eyes and let Shen Qinghan take the lead. Soon, he felt the soft warmth from Shen Qinghan's palms and couldn't help but tremble slightly in unexpected comfort. Hiss! This massage was too comfortable. Really too much. The next day, at 9 a.m. the two of them were lying in bed chatting, showing no intention of getting up. Early in the morning, tucked under the blankets while the air conditioning was on, felt too comfortable, as if they were sealed to the bed. "It's already 9 o'clock, aren't you two going to come down for breakfast?" Zhang Wangzhen, who was cleaning upstairs, heard the chatting coming from their room and knew that Lin Zikin and Shen Qinghan were awake. She came over to knock on the door and told them to get up. The two of them didn't want to get out of bed at first, but when Zhang Wangzhen came knocking, they had no choice but to get up, change clothes, and head downstairs for breakfast. Breakfast consisted of sandwiches and soy milk, all made by the culinary expert, Zhang Wangzhen. "Han Han, try the soy milk and tell me if it's sweet enough." Zhang Wangzhen had stopped her cleaning upstairs and deliberately waited downstairs for Shen Qinghan's verdict on the soy milk. This was a new recipe she had just learned to make, and Shen Qinghan hadn't tried it yet. "I'll taste it." Shen Qinghan smiled sweetly, then picked up the glass of soy milk in front of her to drink. But as she brought it to her lips, she glanced at the milky white hot soy milk in the cup and her expression turned somewhat peculiar, reminded of last night's embarrassing moment. She steadied her emotions and stopped dwelling on it. Quickly, she took a small sip from the cup. "Is it sweet?" Zhang Wangzhen asked expectantly. She had tasted it herself, and found it sweet and very tasty, but she wanted to hear the evaluation from her soon-to-be daughter-in-law. "Very sweet, really delicious." Shen Qinghan praised with a smile, yet she felt only the sweetness in her mouth, not in her spirit. Because her spirit had been tainted last night. She should no longer be called Shen Qinghan but Shen Wuhang. Lin Zikin, who was eating a sandwich beside her, noticed the odd expression on her face and teased, "The effects can't be that lasting, can they? You still have the nerve to laugh at me, it's all your fault." Shen Qinghan bit her lip and gave Lin Zikin a somewhat resentful look, admonishing him. Lin Zikin felt somewhat wronged. "It was you who took the initiative, how can this be my fault?" "It's your fault, just your fault." Shen Qinghan retorted with the petulance of a wild little girlfriend. These two are really a perfect match. Watching the two kids flirt and squabble, the mother Zhang Wangzhen's face was full of an aunt's amused smile. During the following summer vacation, Lin Zikin's life was rather dull and monotonous, mostly occupied with bone tempering. Every time he underwent bone tempering, the pain was so intense that cold sweat broke out and his face turned pale. In contrast, Shen Qinghan's life was much more colorful. She pursued genetic fusion, and becoming stronger wholly depended on it. She only needed to finish basic daily exercises, and then she could use her remaining time freely, going wherever she wanted to play. As long as Li Chuxin asked her out, she usually agreed. After living repressively for so long, she was determined to have a good time this summer break. In mid-August, Lin Zikin and Shen Qinghan took time off to take their driving tests. During the driving lessons, whenever Shen Qinghan grabbed the gear stick of the instructor's car, she would involuntarily recall the scenes of being tarnished by Lin Zikin from that night, then feel that the hand holding the gear stick was strangely awkward. It wasn't just during driving lessons, even when she went with Li Chuxin to classmate Guo Yanling's place to sing karaoke, holding the microphone felt weird, too. Even sometimes, seeing children playing with water guns by the roadside, she would subconsciously feel uncomfortable, with all those disorderly images flooding her mind, unable to be dispelled. Oh no, I've really become Shen Wuhang. Shen Qinghan felt she had lost her innocence and was somewhat troubled and anxious about it. As the summer days passed by, before they knew it, September 7th arrived. Just 2 days left until university began. Unlike primary and secondary schools, Shanghai University's start date was set later, usually in the second week of September. On September 7th, after being tortured by bone tempering for over a month, Lin Zikin finally succeeded in tempering all 206 bones in his body. At the moment he finished tempering all his bones, his biological level evolved from an ordinary 8th rank to an ordinary 9th rank, just one step away from evolving into an advanced level creature. That very day, he began to study how to open acupoints. According to the notes in the blood tempering technique, as long as he could successfully open an A-cup ointment in his body, even just one, he could definitely break the ordinary limits and evolve into an advanced level creature in one fell swoop. However, this task sounded simple but was extremely difficult in practice. To this day, not a single instance of a pure-blood human evolving into an advanced level creature had occurred. In such circumstances, to take the first step, one almost had to pioneer the path like feeling stones to cross the river. How exactly do I open this A-cup ointment? Lin Zikin spent a whole day researching how to open acupoints, trying all the methods mentioned in the notes of the blood tempering technique, yet he came up empty-handed. Previously, during tempering skin, tempering flesh, and bone tempering, since the notes provided clear methods for body refining, there was no need for him to explore on his own, which made his training progress quickly. But now he had to rely on himself to explore, and the difficulty instantly skyrocketed. Forget it, let's put aside the task of opening acupoints for now and wait until university starts to discuss it with Chuan Wulu, the expert on pure-blood humans. At this stage, it's better to continue body refining and see if I can achieve a full 5 refinements. Unintentionally, there were only 2 days left before university started, and he wondered what university life would be like. Lin Zikin pondered these random thoughts. P.S. Begging a bowl, asking for your monthly and recommendation tickets. Chapter 126, 112, College starts. 2 days later, on the morning of September 9th. It was the opening day of Shanghai University. Before leaving the house, Zhang Wangzhen quietly slipped a box of natural latex rubber ultra-thin condoms into Lin Zikin's luggage bag, to avoid him and Shen Qinghan becoming parents before they even graduated. On the other hand, Su Meng directly handed the same box of natural latex rubber ultra-thin condoms to Shen Qinghan and seriously advised. Han Han, during the time before genetic fusion, make sure you and Xiao Chen stay safe, understand? I understand, Mom. Shen Qinghan nodded with a flushed face. Su Meng helped her check her luggage, making sure she had everything, then took her over to Lin Zikin's house. The couple had to go to school for evening classes and didn't have time to take Shen Qinghan to register, so they had to ask Lin Yanzheng and his wife to do it instead. Soon after, Shen Qinghan, with her luggage in tow, got into Lin Yanzheng's car and, as always, sat in the back seat with Lin Zikin. "Xiao Chen, my mom just gave me this." With her cheeks tinted pink, Shen Qinghan pulled open the zipper of her backpack with her delicate, fair fingers, revealing the packet of natural latex rubber ultra-thin condoms that Su Meng had just given her. Lin Zikin glanced at it and couldn't help the corner of his mouth twitching slightly. Then, he took out his phone and sent Shen Qinghan a message on WeChat. "Zi Chen, I shouldn't have shown you that stuff back then. Now you think about it every day." After seeing the message, Shen Qinghan immediately replied. "Qinghan, you're the one who's dirty, not me. I was just showing you what my mom gave me and you're already letting your imagination run wild. Zi Chen, you're the dirty one, acting like a thief crying stop thief, right?" "Qinghan, no, I'm not, you're slandering me again." The two of them kept exchanging messages on WeChat throughout the journey. About an hour later, the car arrived at its destination, Shanghai University. Shanghai University was situated in the outskirts of Shanghai City, only about 50 kilometers away from home, so it wasn't far. One could say that Lin Zikin and Shen Qinghan were attending university right from home. So early and still almost couldn't find a parking spot. There are way too many cars now, not enough parking spaces. Driving is just so inconvenient. After spending over 10 minutes finding a hard-earned parking space, Lin Yanzheng couldn't help complaining about it as he parked the car. Afterward, the four of them got out of the car with their luggage in hand and walked towards the university entrance. Lin Zikin looked at the imposing gate ahead that was 40 meters tall and 80 meters wide and felt awe in his heart. Although as a resident of Shanghai City, it wasn't his first time visiting Shanghai University, but each time he saw the extravagantly large university gate, he would still feel profoundly impacted. About Shanghai University, he had specifically looked up information over the summer break. He learned that this top-tier institution, known as one of the top 2 schools, covered an immense area greater than 55,000 acres, which was more than 3 times the size of the largest aviation university in his former world. With a total number of close to 20,000 people, when converted to per capita land space, it meant an average of nearly 2,000 square meters for each person, which was quite astonishing. Lin Zikin's opinion was that this was a mutant university on a mutant Earth, famously sprawling with sparse population. After entering the university, there were malls, hospitals, food streets, hotels, and inns, everything one needed. The hospital was a full-fledged large hospital, not just a small infirmary. The entire university looked like a mini-city, capable of meeting all personal needs. "Xiao Chen, look, that ice cream shop is still there." When they arrived at the food street, Shen Qinghan pointed to an ice cream shop ahead, her face full of joy. As a child, her parents often brought her to visit Shanghai University to soak in the university atmosphere. Every time they visited, she liked to buy ice cream from this shop. "Let's go over and buy some ice cream. We have plenty of time, and it won't be too late to register after that," Zhang Wangzhen suggested with a smile. Zhang Wangzhen, not her biological mother, had always doted on Shen Qinghan like her own daughter over the years. Seeing that Shen Qinghan wanted to eat ice cream, she suggested buying some without a second thought. Before long, the four of them entered the ice cream shop, ordered their scoops, and found a place to sit. In the meantime, many students inside cast glances at their table. Mainly because all four of them were so good-looking. One was a handsome, manly uncle. One was a beautiful aunt with charm and grace still intact. The 2 youngsters were even more prominent, having been the school's male and female heartthrobs since childhood, always catching eyes wherever they went, whether being sneakily photographed or asked for WeChat contacts. Naturally, the 4 of them seated together became a striking scene, prompting everyone who saw them to linger for a few extra glances. Xiao Chen, this is strawberry milk flavored, it's especially delicious. Try some. Shen Qinghan scooped a piece of pink ice cream from her bowl with a spoon and affectionately brought it to Lin Zikin's mouth to feed him. Lin Zikin took a bite and found it indeed delicious. Just then, a noisy group of laughing men and women came from outside. Come on, another drink. Jiexin, the skirt you're wearing today is so long, it's hard for me to get a good touch. You can reach inside, I don't mind. Yang Ji, stop playing with girls and start guessing the dice. Haha, you lost, drink up. Lin Zikin followed the sounds and looked across to the small bar opposite, where he saw a couple of male students playing dice and drinking with a group of female students. Chapter 127, 112, University starts _2. The female students all had pretty faces and sexy, hot figures. As for the two male students, although they were average in looks, one had scales covering both hands and the other had a pair of horns of some unknown creature growing on his head. Clearly, they were the esteemed genetic integrators. At that moment, both male students were hugging the girls closely, their hands restlessly wandering over their shapely bodies, presenting a scene that was somewhat indecent. Lin Zikin only glanced at this spectacle before he quickly looked away. In contrast, the two male students sitting at the next table started to viciously criticize the scene unfolding outside. That Huang Jiexin, acting like a high and mighty goddess every day in the art college, claiming to be annoyed by the sight of men, but look at her now, throwing herself at guys from Evolution College and letting them grope her left and right, such a hypocrite. Can't blame her, after all, those from Evolution College have a promising future. If you were a girl, you'd probably throw yourself at them for the attention too. True, if I were a student from the inner campus at Evolution College, I'd also come out here to the outer district to pick up chicks every day. Just a little wave of my finger and a bunch of so-called goddesses would flock to me. A poor man's goddess, a superior man's lackey. While listening to their banter, the first thing Lin Zikin captured was the words inner campus. Shanghai University has an inner and an outer campus. The outer campus is where the liberal arts and art students study. The inner campus is for students studying evolution, mechanical engineering, and martial arts. The outer campus is open to the public, and having been there countless times since childhood, Lin Zikin was very familiar with it. However, the inner campus, because it involves genetic fusion and mechanical modification, is only accessible to students from there and is not open to the public. The restriction on entry was so severe that even students from the outer campus of the same university could not enter. It gave off the vibe of a slum next to a wealthy district. Because of this, Lin Zikin had always been curious about the environment within the inner campus and wanted to see it for himself. You too, now that you're at university and have some freedom, you cannot indulge yourself like those people drinking outside. You have to continue to study hard, do you understand? Zhang Wangzhen earnestly reminded both of them. She looked at the group across the street, yelling and rolling dice while drinking, feeling disgusted from the bottom of her heart. She did not want her son and future daughter-in-law to end up like them. Lin Yanzheng laughed, "You're worrying too much. Xiao Chen and Han Han have always been sensible and good kids since they were little, they won't turn out like that." After finishing their ice cream and seeing that it was time. Soon, the four of them got up, left the ice cream shop, and headed to the inner campus to register. Since the inner campus was off-limits to outsiders, Lin Yanzheng and Zhang Wangzhen escorted the two kids to the entrance, dropped off their luggage, gave a few reminders, and then left. "I can fit all my luggage in one backpack and one suitcase, how come you need one backpack and 3 suitcases?" Seeing that Shen Qinghan had way too much luggage to carry, Lin Zikin couldn't help but tease her, then volunteered to help her with one of the cases. "It's different for girls versus boys, we need to bring more things." "It's perfectly normal," Shen Qinghan said, feeling a bit wronged. "I'm not saying it's not normal, I'm just teasing you a bit. Alright, let's hurry in and register." Oh! Shen Qinghan acknowledged with a sound and obediently followed Lin Zikan, dragging 2 suitcases behind her. At the checkpoint for entering the inner campus, a guard called out. Hey! You two, please show your acceptance letters. Both Lin Zikan and Shen Qinghan were lugging luggage, making it obvious they were freshmen. The old man needed to confirm which college's freshmen they were. After all, there had been many students in previous years with no sense of direction, who, despite being liberal arts or arts students, accidentally, or perhaps on purpose, ended up in the inner campus. Lin Zikan and Shen Qinghan found it inconvenient to set down their bags to take out their acceptance letters, so they helped each other by unzipping their backpacks to get the letters out. Lin Zikan first helped Shen Qinghan remove her acceptance letter from her backpack and showed it to the guard. Then, it was Shen Qinghan's turn to help him fetch his acceptance letter to show to the old man. However, as soon as she began unzipping the backpack, the guard said, "All right, no need to show it, I recognize you as the runner-up in the provincial college entrance exam who joined Tianren Pavilion. Go on in." Hearing this, Lin Zikan was a little surprised. He hadn't expected that the news which leaked his private information, even after such a long time, would cause people to still recognize him. It seemed that the news had a much more significant impact than he had ever imagined. If even a gatekeeper remembered him, then it was likely that teachers and students inside would remember too. He was becoming famous right from the start of the school year. From now on, peace and quiet would probably be hard to come by, as walking anywhere would involve being pointed at and talked about, facing gossip and commentary. A bit overwhelming. Shaking his head, Lin Zikan didn't dwell on it any longer and walked into the inner campus with Shen Qinghan, dragging their luggage. After a few minutes spent passing through a tunnel-like passage, they finally arrived at the mysterious inner campus. As soon as they entered, they were deeply shocked by the scene before them. The high-rises were still those high-rises, the greenery was still that greenery. The only difference was that the inner campus was filled with genetic integrators and mechanically modified humans everywhere. There were genetic integrators with tails, with horns on their heads, with wings. Mechanically modified humans had alloy legs, alloy arms, alloy eyes. At a glance, very few appeared to be ordinary humans. Chapter 128, 112, University starts _3. It felt as if they'd passed through to another world. Xiao Chen, that upperclassman's cat ears on her head are so cute. And look at that upperclassman with a fluffy fox tail on her behind, swaying back and forth when she walks. It looks so unique. Xiao Chen, quick, look up in the sky, there's a mechanically modified human flying. Watching the genetic integrators and mechanically modified humans around her, Shen Qinghan was thoroughly excited and couldn't stop talking. During this time, many passers-by noticed the high-value childhood sweethearts. A few somewhat handsome upperclassmen wanted to ask for Shen Qinghan's WeChat, but seeing Lin Zikan close by, they tactfully refrained from hitting on the already taken beauty. Besides, several people recognized Lin Zikan, the second-ranked student in the provincial college entrance exams who had joined Tianren Pavilion, but they merely whispered among themselves and did not pay too much attention. Those in the Shanghai University campus were all crème de la crème of their age. Being geniuses, everyone was typically busy and did not have much time to pay attention to others' gossip. You have too much luggage. I'll take you to Evolution College first to register, and then I'll go to Martial Arts College to register by myself. Sure, thanks, Xiao Chen. We're practically engaged, no need to be so formal. Lin Zikan smiled, then followed the directional signs on the roadside, taking Shen Qinghan to the new student registration at Evolution College. The upperclassmen at the registration point were immediately struck by the couple's outrageously high attractiveness as soon as they saw them. After Shen Qinghan finished filling out the paperwork and was about to head to her assigned dormitory, the upperclassmen inside vied with each other to show off in front of her, offering to carry her luggage and such. Shen Qinghan was very sensible and chose an upper-class woman to help carry her luggage to the dormitory right away, maintaining a distance from the other males except for Lin Zikan. Xiao Chen, see you at the evening meeting. Sure, see you this evening. Lin Zikan watched Shen Qinghan leave and then dragged his luggage over to the martial arts college to register. It was quite different from the scene at Evolution College. When he arrived at the new student registration for martial arts college, the upperclassmen there got excited when they saw the second-ranked student from Nanjiang province had arrived. Martial arts college didn't have top scholars as common as Evolution College, where there was no shortage of valedictorians and salutatorians. Seeing a provincial top-ranked student in martial arts college was like once in a blue moon. After all, those with high scores in the college entrance examinations would definitely choose Evolution College. Ziai Chen, you're so handsome. Ziai Chen, can I add your WeChat? Ziai Chen, let me carry your luggage. While eagerly helping Lin Ziai, the upper-class women were very enthusiastic about getting his WeChat contact, and many upperclassmen expressed the same wish. After all, this was the prestigious second-ranked student in the province. And a handsome one at that. His future prospects were immeasurable. Despite Lin Ziai joining martial arts college, the upperclassman at the registration point felt that he wouldn't stay long. He was bound to switch back to Evolution College to pursue genetic fusion and become one of the elite. And now, having the chance to meet such a future elite, they were eager to speak to him and get to know him while they had the chance. Let alone anything else, just having him as a WeChat contact, they could brag about knowing this elite individual in the future. P.S. Finally entered the university chapter. From tomorrow on we dive into the main storyline of the book. Fast-paced and thrilling updates are coming. Chapter 129, 113, Cohabitation Life. Having completed the new student registration procedures, Lin Zikan's next destination was the dormitory. Sophomores and seniors at the registration desk vied to send him off in order to get closer to him. In the end, it was a senior with big, wavy blonde hair who outdid the rest and earned the right to show him the way to the dormitory. This senior had a decent appearance, scoring at least a 7 out of 10. Her most prominent feature was her particularly voluptuous figure. Seductive enough to tempt one to commit crimes. All along the way, the senior made a point to display her charms in front of Lin Zikan, hoping to get his attention. However, Lin Zikan was not at all hooked and was oblivious to her impressive figure. By the way, Ziai Chen, up ahead is Sunrise Plaza where the school's student power ranking is located. Would you like to go see it? As they passed a forest path, the senior smiled and pointed to a plaza ahead, asking him. Lin Zikan was quite interested in the power ranking and responded with a smile, "Sure, let's go have a look." "Thank you for showing the way, senior." "It's no trouble at all, it's my pleasure to show the handsome junior the way," she said. The senior presented herself humbly, with every smile and tone of voice designed to ingratiate herself with Lin Zikan to the greatest extent possible. After a brief walk, the two stopped in front of the so-called power ranking. There were two power rankings, the peak ranking and the newcomer ranking. The peak ranking was for all the students in the college and had a total of 500 ranks. The newcomer ranking was only for first-year students and had 100 ranks. Scanning the two lists briefly, Lin Zikan saw the peak ranking filled with the names of 500 densely packed students. As for the newcomer ranking, it was blank. After all, the term had just started, and the new students hadn't crossed fists yet, making it impossible to rank them. As for ranking by college entrance examination scores, the college deemed it unnecessary, believing that the entrance exam was a thing of the past. Now that they were in college, it was time to speak with their current strength. Lin Zikan quickly scanned through the peak ranking. The top three were advanced warriors, with the first and second ranks being evolvers and the third mechanical students, all seniors. From 4th to 108th place were ordinary 9th rank, all evolvers and mechanical students. Rank 109 to 500 were ordinary 8th rank, almost all evolvers and mechanical humans. The reason it's almost is that 3 martial arts students had made it onto the list. All 3 were senior students of martial arts college, oddly ranking at 389, 453, and 498, respectively. For these 3 martial arts students to rank so high as pure-blood humans was indeed a glory for martial arts. Yet, with only 3 senior martial arts students in the top 500 of the peak ranking, the gap in numbers was staggeringly large. It was evident how disadvantaged pure-blood humans were against genetic integrators and mechanically modified humans. Zi Chen, the 3 martial arts students on the peak ranking are members of Tianren Pavilion like you, said the senior. Trying to find a conversation topic with Lin Zikan, the senior took the initiative to introduce the martial arts students on the peak ranking. She continued, these 3 could have been admitted to Evolution College based on their college entrance examination scores, but because they believe in the pure-blood human path, they joined Tianren Pavilion under President Liu's invitation. Without their convictions, given their current physical strength, they would have long since transferred to Evolution College and embraced genetic fusion, rather than staying at the nearly feudal martial arts college, where they painstakingly temper their physical bodies night and day, she said. Isn't genetic fusion tempting? Taking the genetic fusion path, as long as you have exotic beast genes, a simple fusion makes you stronger, and the effort required is much less than following the pure-blood human path. I really admire them, she added. Admiration? In truth, she didn't admire them at all, she even thought those 3 were a bit foolish. Her current claim of admiration was primarily in hopes of currying favor with Lin Zikan. After all, Lin Zikan was a member of Tianren Pavilion. If it were her, she would not hesitate to transfer to Evolution College to become a genetic integrator with a bright future. It wasn't surprising that she would think this way, considering that martial arts students truly endured discrimination in the school and had a hard time. Even though martial arts students were in the inner campus area and shared a learning environment with evolution and mechanical students, many martial arts graduates fared even worse than students from the outer campus areas studying culture or arts. Unless they could transfer to Evolution College or Mechanical Academy later on, achieving a life-changing reversal of fortune. The suitability for genetic fusion and mechanical modification could be enhanced through subsequent training and would increase as the body grew stronger. However, the improvement was quite limited. Simply put, 9 parts were fated, 1 part dependent on struggle. In the entire martial arts college, by continuously training the body to improve suitability, about 10% of students could defy fate by the time they graduated after 4 years, meeting the requirements for genetic fusion or mechanical modification. 90% of martial arts students hope to turn their destiny around by enrolling in martial arts college, seeing it as a second college entrance examination in their lives. As for the remaining 10%, these were either poor students who didn't perform well academically but had decent physical test data, forced to enroll in martial arts college, or the very few who believed in the pure-blood human path and were members of Tianren Pavilion. Zi Chen, with your talent, you will definitely be able to make it onto the peak ranking in the future. As a pure-blood human, you'll break the records of martial arts students and charge directly into the top 5 of the peak ranking. After introducing the 3 martial arts students on the peak ranking, the senior turned the conversation back to Lin Zikan, continuing to flatter him, hoping to win his favor. Chapter 130, 113, Cohabitation Life _2. Hearing the words breaking the record, Lin Zikan asked with a bit of curiosity, Senior sister, what's the record for martial arts students? Number 6 on the peak rankings. After answering, the senior sister added, this record was set by an old senior sister in our martial arts college named Song Yuan. She set it just as her senior year began. But less than 2 months after the semester started, her ranking fell from 6th to beyond the 20th place. Because her pure-blood human path had reached a bottleneck, while others kept growing stronger through genetic fusion and mechanical enhancements, and slowly she was overtaken by various others. The senior sister continued, now, This old senior sister has become a mentor in our martial arts college and is also the ace researcher at Tianren Pavilion and invaluable assistant to President Liu. Number 6 on the peak rankings. Lin Zikin looked surprised, a bit shocked by the record. Seeing the astonishment on his face, the senior sister explained with a smile, the reason Instructor Song could reach number 6 on the peak rankings as a pure-blood human was that she had a very strong natural talent as the valedictorian of the capital city college entrance exam. At this point, the senior sister spoke with a hint of regret, but even such a talented Instructor Song, because she followed the pure-blood human path, has been stuck at the ordinary 9th rank for nearly 10 years now. Then, she became the representative of wasted genius, often used as an example of what not to do. Every time I hear people using Instructor Song as a bad example, I feel very angry. Those people simply don't understand how great Instructor Song's sacrifice is. If someday the pure-blood human path shines brightly, Instructor Song will be seen as a pioneer. How could she be mentioned in the same breath as those mediocrities? As she spoke, the senior sister started to flatter Lin Zikin again, feigning conviction as she said, "Zi Chen, with you joining Tianren Pavilion, the pure-blood human path will surely shine brightly one day." Having said this, she expected Lin Zikin to be overjoyed and say something passionate like, "I didn't expect you to appreciate the pure-blood human path so much, you truly understand me. We must keep in touch in the future." However, Lin Zikin merely responded indifferently, "Hearing what you've said, Instructor Song does seem great." Seeing Lin Zikin's tepid response, the senior sister felt rather disappointed. Afterward, the two left Sunrise Plaza and headed for the dormitory building. With the senior sister leading the way, Lin Zikin quickly arrived at his college dormitory. It was a small single room with a bedroom, a bathroom, and a balcony. Beyond that, there was no other space. Wow, is this the best dorm room martial arts college has to offer? It's great being the college entrance exam runner-up, having a whole dorm to yourself is enviable indeed. Living here, you won't need to go to a hotel if you get a girlfriend, just bring her straight to the dorm. You'll save quite a bit of money. The senior sister looked around Lin Zikin's dorm while expressing her envy. As she spoke, she deliberately pulled at her neckline to cool down, revealing a glimpse of her snowy white chest to Lin Zikin, and hinted suggestively, "Zi Chen, it was so hot walking outside just now. Can I take a quick shower here to cool off?" Lin Zikin knew what she was implying but skipped right over it, smiling as he said, "You've worked hard, senior sister. There's a milk tea shop right across the dormitory. Let me treat you to milk tea as a token of thanks." "That works." The senior sister wasn't foolish, realizing she couldn't seduce Lin Zikin, she temporarily gave up and opted to have milk tea with him downstairs. After all, coming on too strong might just scare Lin Zikin away. She was battle-hardened in the ways of love and knew very well the principle of too much is as bad as not enough. Arriving at the milk tea shop across the dormitory, Lin Zikin spent over $30 to buy the senior sister a milk tea filled with extras. Having repaid the favor of being led here, he quickly finished his own cup of milk tea and then, despite the senior sister's attempts to keep him there, turned and went back to his dormitory. As soon as he returned to the dormitory, he received a WeChat message from Shen Qinghan. Opening it, he saw several pictures of dormitories that Shen Qinghan had taken, saying it was a personal single-room dorm prepared for her by Yuan Dongji. Upon opening these pictures, Lin Zikin instantly felt his own little single room was less appealing. Shen Qinghan's dorm had a training room, a large living room, a large balcony, a large bathroom, and even a bathtub in the bathroom for soaking baths, an extremely luxurious apartment. In comparison with this luxurious apartment, his tiny single room was downgraded to a place not even fit for a dog. "Han Han, Xiao Chen, have you arrived at the dorm yet?" "Zi Chen, I have." "Han Han, quick, send me pictures of your dorm to see." "Zi Chen." Lin Zikin replied with a string of ellipses, then turned on his phone's video function and recorded a video tour of his little single-room dorm, inside and out, and sent it to Shen Qinghan to see. After seeing his dorm, Shen Qinghan was somewhat surprised. This small single room was too plain compared to her own luxurious apartment. It felt like comparing a thatched hut to a palace. Han Han, your dorm is too small. Why don't you move in with me? The bed here is even bigger than the one at home. Ziai Chen, move? Absolutely. Han Han, where's your dorm? I'm coming over now to help you with your luggage. Ziai Chen, I don't have much luggage, I can carry it myself. Just give me your dorm address. Han Han, all right then.